Ivona, with normally you have a speech, you give some sort of introduction to it, but I cannot think of really any appropriate introduction to Gentrified Neanderthal. Ivona, Gentrified.
I was born on May the 12th. It was a beautiful day. Sunny. The lilacs were in full bloom. The birds were chirping. And I remember nothing of it. The most important day of my life, I have no recollection of. I'm the older of the two sisters, and I was made in Poland out of foreign parts. My father's family comes from Lithuania. They are partially, part of it, the family is Jewish. My mom's father came from Estonia, and they never went back because they didn't want to be crucified after the war. Of course, growing up in Poland, you didn't want to be anything else but a Polish Catholic. My mother realized, because they had me both my parents were still in college when they had me. My mom was studying economics and my father became a civil engineer. After my mom had me, she realized that she's still young and she would like to go out and party. So she hired a nanny for me. And thank God she did. Because Marysia, that was her name, who should have really been named Penelope, had enough patience for four, and she was a very virtuous woman when it came to raising children. Was I raised by my mother, I would have much less patience, much more empathy, and much less empathy, I'm sorry. And I think I would have not been the person I am. Actually, I know I wouldn't be. I grew up in a pre-war building, and all my friends were over 65. They were retired ladies, and these were my childhood friends. So when my mom was pregnant with my sister, I was so excited. It was like a second coming. I didn't realize, of course, that an Athena is not gonna spring out of my mother's head, and I'm not gonna have an immediate playmate. When my sister was born, she was a regular baby like all the others, laying there, pooping, eating, and sleeping. Pretty boring. School started pretty uneventfully. I was a problem student up until the second semester. My father had devoted so much time to my education after school, at least 3 or 4 hours a day, doing math, reading, writing, that in the second semester I was in the top 3 out of 32 students, and I stayed in top of all my classes till I finished school. And I know it's thanks to my father. Otherwise, I think I would be struggling always. So, how was it growing up in a communist Poland? Well, it was actually pretty cool. We had 10 minutes of TV for children a day, so you had to find other things to do. We had an hour of TV on the weekend, so you still had to find other things to do, like actually interacting with with other children, reading books, and playing with your younger sister. Why did we come here? Well, in the early 80s, the economy in Poland and in Central Europe became so bad that even if you had a bag of money, if you walked into a store, all you could get is stale bread and pickles. You had to buy everything on the black market. The little bit of privatized business that my parents were allowed to open, and they were making a very good living at, was taxed by the government so highly that they basically taxed them out of making a livelihood. So in the mid-80s, we packed up to go and visit our family in Berlin, in West Berlin, and we never went back. I lived in West Berlin at that time for 2 years, went to school there, learned the language, and when I had friends and learned the language, my parents decided to move to Chicago because my father didn't like Germany. So we land in Chicago on a day like today. It was in December. And we get to this apartment that my parents' friends got for them. And it had avocado green carpeting and dark brown paneled walls. And I thought to myself, my God, this can't be real. This can't be for real. Unfortunately, it was. So what did we do? It made us all pull together and work really hard to get out of there. I started college. I went to UIC. I got my degree in history, and thanks to my wonderful professors, they wrote me great letters. I got in to the University of Chicago for my master's in history. And during writing my thesis on medieval Germanic law, I've decided that I am sick of history. I am sick of crazy people that when they stole something, they checked if they were innocent or not by putting their hand in boiling water and wrapping it up, and if it healed in 3 days, they were innocent, and if it didn't, they were guilty. So I left school, and I became a realtor. And I am still a realtor almost 20 years later. I love what I do, except for 2011, the market was so bad, I hated what I did because I didn't do anything. But actually, I worked, I just didn't get paid. So going back to the title of my speech, because of the internet, you don't know my last name, but it's Jedala. And every time I Googled my last name, 11 people came up. And I thought, okay, I know all of them. They're my family. They're my closest family. Aren't there any other people in the world with that last name in Lithuania? And I wasn't finding anybody. Finally, I Googled the town, and I found my roots. And I found out that I have a totally different last name, and I am totally somebody else than I thought I was. Did that change my life? Not as much as doing a DNA test recently, because I had so many Asian people asking me if I'm part East Asian. So I finally did the test. I am not, but I am 3.2% Neanderthal. So when I Googled my family, I found out that we were landed gentry. And by doing my DNA test, I found out that I'm a Neanderthal. Therefore, Tim, I am a gentrified Neanderthal.